You ready to start?
I'm ready to start.
All right. Well, I don't even know where to start with introducing.
Welcome to my show. My name is Breanna. I have Raphael as a guest. It's mom time, baby.
That pretty much sums it up. Boy, we've known each other for quite a while. You are the female version of me.
It's true. Can't
And,
confirm. But cooler.
Well, that's almost possible. I think it's interesting because Bree and I are absolute best friends. She's, I like to say, one of my daughter's godmothers, and
Gruesome twosome.
the gruesome twosome. So men and women can definitely be friends.
Yeah.
It is definitely possible. It helps when they're pretty much the same person, though.
Yeah. Not a lot of attraction going on, just like, oh, Rocco.
Makes sense. It makes perfect sense. So Bree's husband is Barry, who was on before. He was on first because he's a man, and that's what we do.
We saved the second for best.
Bree knows her place.
Barry's like the opening act, and I'm the main performer.
You guys see where this is going to go. But I actually think that that's good because there's things that I want to talk about with that, because not always does the man represent the masculine in the relationship for everything. Like, there's give and take and there's balance. And of course, Barry is very masculine. He's not a fucking little simp bitch. But
a manly man.
He's your manly man. But I think that the energies that both of you get off are a little bit different. Yours is very much more type A, very much, which I think a lot of people just equate type A with men. And he's very much just like, all right, whatever, it's all going to be okay. Which is what you need, right? That type of a person. So it's very good. And I think that dynamic's also super helpful when it comes to raising Emmy and how that goes. But let's just start from the beginning of the home birth. I don't think I've talked to anybody about the home birth. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Want
the whole birth story?
We want the whole birth story, but let's start before we go to the birth story. Let's back up even more and what made you choose
to the conception.
Yeah. Let's start with the conception. I want all the details. Did he use coconut oil? Did he know where to put it?
He got there. So I have always been really holistic, and especially when we were going more into the mode of starting our family, it was very clear to me that a home birth was the only way to go, especially after having been to a couple of home births. I was fortunate enough that some of my patients invited me to their births. And, seeing women birth in their power, I just thought, oh, this is the only way to give birth. My mom had planned a home birth with me, but then after a really long labor, she ended up going to her doctor's office. But I was born in, a doctor's office. It wasn't a hospital setting or anything. So after I found out I was pregnant, I told Barry, hey, this is the midwife I'm going to call for the home birth. And there really wasn't a lot of discussion, just because we just are both very much in alignment with our beliefs. So it's not like there was a fight. It's not like he had these expectations, well, you have your baby in the hospital. And he also knew that I had done my research and was following my intuition, and that this was going to be the right choice for our family. And especially after meeting our midwife, he was very, very much on board. His only request was that he not be the only one there. He wanted me to have some of my friends there as doulas to be support people, because he knew that there were things that I was going to need in labor that he wouldn't necessarily know the way that another woman would know, and he just wanted that support, which was, again, I'm like, yeah, I was already going to invite Rachel, so that's fine.
I mean, it makes sense, because when Christy was pregnant, I felt the same way too when we went with the midwife. I was like, I'm glad you're here. Like, she had done over 1,200 births. I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, could I do it in a pinch? Of course I could do it in a pinch. I believe the body knows exactly what to do, and I'm, logical. But for me, it was the same thing. It's like, well, let's have other women around that have done it before, because it's going to make me feel a lot calmer. And if I'm calmer, you can be calmer.
Exactly. And I think that was Barry's thought process as well. He just wanted to make sure that I was going to have all the support that I wanted and needed. And I don't think he felt that could be him completely, and at the time I definitely agreed with that. Now our daughter's almost 2 and we're thinking about when we want to have our next baby, and already I know that next birth will be really different just because I'm not the person that I was during my first pregnancy, so I'm not going to be the person I was. I'm not going to give birth to the same baby. I'm not going to have the same birth experience. All of our babies, all of our births, all of our pregnancies are so different. So the next birth will look differently, and we'll also have the confidence of, we've done this before, I'll know what I want more, and I'll be able to voice what I want more. Because again, the first time, for any moms who are listening, it's just, you have no idea what to even expect, what it's even going to feel like. And, even as much as I am confident and the body knows what to do, your baby knows what to do, it's still a little scary. Any new thing, you're like, oh, what's this going to feel like?
I mean, even as a dad, like, we haven't been to many or around pregnant women very often. It's just not a thing. And I was fucking terrified. I'm like, all right, body knows what it's doing. Fuck, I hope it knows what it's doing. If I tell myself enough, I know that it's going to be true. But it was definitely nerve-wracking for me too. And I think that, if I do go through it again, it'll be very different also because, and I don't know. So tell me how you think it'll, well, first let's go through the first one, because then I want to hear what you think will be different.
So my pregnancy was really hard. It was just really, really hard on me. Honestly, we got pregnant a little bit sooner than we anticipated, so it was really difficult for me and my personality to accept, oh, I didn't have the control over this like I thought. I was like, oh, I'm going to get pregnant in this month. We're going to and that's just not what happened. So that was hard for me to kind of accept, and truthfully, I felt like dog shit the entire pregnancy, and I am used to feeling great. I'm used to feeling great, I'm used to sleeping great, I'm used to looking great, and all of those things were escaping me. I was really nauseous, my back really hurt once the nausea subsided. I did not get a good night's sleep my entire pregnancy, which I'm a good sleeper, and I like sleep, so that sucked. And then, you feel like your body's totally different. You can't do the things you normally do. You're not even wearing your own clothes. You don't have the energy that you're used to having. So it was hard for me identity-wise, because a really huge part of my identity was, I'm a really hard worker. I feel really good. I have just lots of vibrancy in the world, and being pregnant really took away from me. So vibrant.
Bless the world with my pregnancy.
I know. When I was pregnant, a lot of that was no longer part of my everyday life, and it was really, really, was really hard. But Barry was just amazing throughout all of it. So patient, so kind, just, what can I do for you? How can I make you feel better? And then finally, when it got to the end of my pregnancy, I'm very realistic about pregnancy. I'm like, okay, you know what? 40 weeks is just an average. Pregnancy is anywhere from 38 to 42 weeks. I might be pregnant for 42 weeks, and that's okay, because my baby knows the exact right time to come. So I'm now 39 weeks pregnant, and I start having contractions, and I'm like, oh shit. This baby might come early. I did not anticipate this.
All right, Emmy.
But I'm like, oh, this is great, because Barry and I are self-employed. So he took 2 weeks off for his paternity leave. He took off the week of my due date, which is made up, and then the week after. And we're just like, well, hopefully we have the baby around that time. So I'm like, great, we're gonna maximize this paternity leave. It's gonna be awesome. I'm not gonna be pregnant for another 2 to 3 weeks. I am so happy. And then the contractions stopped. And then the next day they started again, and I'm like, I called the birth team. My friends are there as my doulas. We're doing counter pressure, and I'm having contractions for hours, and I'm like, gonna have a baby. And then they stopped.
Boom, roasted. Emmy knew what she was doing right from the beginning.
Honestly, Emmy was like, Mom, I fooled ya. So I'm pissed. Then it happens another time. Contractions. I, middle of the night, woke up. I'm having to get up, work through them. Then they stop. So at that point, I'm like, fuck it. I'm never going to have this baby. This is terrible.
It's never coming out.
I'm going to be pregnant forever. That's it. And then, of course, people are texting me, oh, just checking in with you. How you feeling? Ba, 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 ba. And I looked at Barry and I was like, if one more person checks in on me, I'm going to throw my phone at the wall. I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. And he goes, okay, well, sweetheart, what do you want people to say to you? And I said, I don't want them to say anything to me. I want people to lose my number. Don't interact with me. Just don't interact with me. I'm not in the mood for it. So then, my contractions started on a Monday. Had more on Tuesday, nothing Wednesday, more on Thursday, Friday nothing, Saturday nothing, Sunday nothing, Monday nothing, Tuesday nothing. And by Tuesday, I was like, you know what? No. I'm going to put on my big girl pants. I'm going to live my life. Because whatever, clearly I'm going to be pregnant forever, so I might as well go out and do something. I remember I went to vote because it was, I don't know, like local primaries or something, and I just needed to get out of the house. And then Wednesday, I got Reiki and reflexology done. And my Reiki lady was like, okay, do you feel anything? And I said, you know what? I think that this whole time I've been saying, all right, baby, come on, we're ready for you. We are ready for you. And I said, I don't think that's what she needs to hear. I think she needs to hear, it's safe for you to come. It's okay for you to come. We are so ready to hold you. We're so ready to have you. It's safe. We're ready. You're ready. And she was like, yep, that's kind of what I was feeling too. So I'm like, okay. So that night I went home, meditated, talked to baby, just told her, hey, it's safe, all those things. Woke up the next morning, was definitely having contractions, but I'm like, I've played
not fooling for this again.
Exactly. I'm like, I've played this game before. Good try. So I ignored them. Ignored them. And then finally by like 11 o'clock, I was like, I'll time them. I'll time them a little bit. They're 4 minutes apart, which is pretty close. And I was like, ooh, I might be having a baby. But how I really knew I was going to have a baby that day was my baby birds were hatching on my front porch. And I saw that and I was like, this is a good day to be born. I think this is it. So called my birth team, got everyone over, and this was early in the day. And I'm like, this is great. I'll have this baby by dinner.
Bed by 8. It's have a pizza and going to bed by 8:30. We're good.
Oh, literally, I was like, this is great. Everyone come over, have the baby. I'll eat dinner with everyone. It's gonna be awesome. And then the sun starts going down, which at the end of May, the sun doesn't go down until pretty late. And when it started getting dark, I was like, I have been in labor for a very long time. And Barry was just so awesome through all of it. Just stayed by my side the whole time, giving counter pressure, giving me affirmations, holding my hand, letting me pretty much scream in his face when they started getting more intense.
Question.
And I asked go ahead.
Did Barry blow the bathtub up with his lips?
That's love. Barry the tub.
Hurry up, it's coming.
Barry's passing out. We need the blood from the midwife.
That's how I remember it in my head. So that's the story we're going to tell everybody. This giant bathtub, he blew it up. It's huge.
Really big.
Yeah, it's huge.
Which is funny that I'm like in my living room, like floating around. And I had asked my midwife, I was like, I kind of feel like I could push. And she's like, don't push till you can't not push. And I was like,
it's like a poop.
Yeah, I was like, that's weird advice, but okay. So it was, so then I'm like laboring, and it is hard. Every single contraction, I'm like, frick, I don't know how many more of these can do, because labor is literally the biggest mind fuck, because in your head, okay, I can get through this one, I can get through the next one, but I've already been doing this for 12 hours, and I don't know if I have another 12 hours left in me, but also I don't know if I'm going to have a baby in that time period. Like, you just have no idea, because it can go from 0 to 100, and it can go from 0 to 0, and you have no control over it. And again, I am very grounded in my beliefs. That's part of the reason we had a home birth. I did not want any outside drugs in me, all that stuff, and I remember thinking, man, if you offered me an epidural. If you offered me heroin right now, I'd take it.
I'm fucking in.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Right.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
sucks. This really sucks. So I'm there, and it sucks because the contractions are so close together. They're right on top of each other. I'm really not getting any breaks in between. And then I'm kind of on the edge of my tub, and I'm like, can't do it. I cannot do this anymore. And I just start sobbing. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And at that moment, which Barry told me this later, all the women in the room, which I had a bunch of people there because I wanted to feel really supported, all the people in the room came around me. So it's my friend Rachel, my friend Ruthie, my friend Becky, my birth photographer, my mom, Barry, the midwife and her assistant. They're all around me. And they're like, you can do this, you can do this. And yeah, and I'm crying, and then I like take a moment back, and I'm like, all right, what are my options here? And I feel like in a movie when everything stops and the main character has a little monologue, that's how I felt in that moment. So I'm like, all right.
I feel like you think your life's like that all day long.
Yeah, main character.
Nobody can move until she walks in the room. Not another teen movie. Or until she moves. Nobody can move until she moves again.
No, I do this. So I'm like, all right, what are my options? I can like get out of this tub and go to the hospital, which are automatically going to nix that because I can't move. I'm not getting out of this tub. I can stay in this tub forever. Not a great option. Or I can birth this baby and most likely rip in half and die. Because that's what it felt like. It's like, well, can't do
going out on top.
I guess it's option 3, because at that moment, the ring of fire was in full force. And let me tell you, that thing is not misnamed. Feels like you're going to rip in half and die. Yeah. I was like, I am certainly going to rip from my clit to my asshole. Like, yeah. I'm going to rip in half and die. That's fine. That's fine. So then my midwife was like, hey, just so you know, your water hasn't broken yet. You know, you'll probably feel a little pop. That's your water breaking. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't even know my own name at this point. So then I'm still on the edge of the tub. Maybe 10 seconds has passed. And I'm crying. They're like, Bree, you can do this. You can do this. And then I made the decision. I'm going to do this. And I'm on my, like, leaning over the edge of the tub. And I rose up on my knees and I went, I can do this! And everyone in the room went, yeah!
It's like a Kiss concert.
Yeah! Immediately, my water broke. And if you've ever stepped on a water balloon and it goes, like, you feel a little bit of resistance and then pop, that's how it felt. Only it wasn't my foot, it was my vagina. It felt like cannon.
Right.
At that moment, I was like, oh, all my insides just rocketed out of me. Okay, we'll deal with that later. I'm gonna rip in half.
And left the baby.
So, boom! It scares the shit out of me. Not because it doesn't hurt. It just felt so big. I don't know. It was just so intense.
Like a terrible fart, right? Like a big fart.
I wish. So screamed. I flipped over so that then I'm kind of just like sitting up straight with my legs extended. And the next contraction, she came out all at once. I pushed 0 times during my labor. 0 times. And then baby comes out on my chest, and the video is my most favorite thing in the entire world. I watch it all the time because there's so much going on because, again, there's like so many people there. So people are like cheering and crying. I'm holding her. I'm sobbing. I'm shaking because I just had a baby and it hurts. I'm so happy. And rewatching the video is also great if you focus in on Barry because he's going, you did it. You did it. We have a baby. We have a baby. We have a baby. There's a baby. We have a baby. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, she has so much hair. And I'm looking at her. And then at the end of the video, which is like 1.5 minutes long, everyone quiets down. And I just go, that was so hard.
God.
But it was so awesome, and it's so funny because there's so much fear in people about birth because we have all these scary stories and all these, well, if this happened this way and ba 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 ba. But it is the most beautiful thing. It is the most natural thing. And when you feel loved and safe and supported, it goes so well. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of, and it depends on mom, baby, and everything, but like that's how it should be. There shouldn't be this, oh, I pushed for the 5 hours. I mean, she was ready, and oxytocin is a huge part of that fetal ejection reflex. So, yeah, I waited until she was ready, and she came into the world like a water torpedo.
Now water slides are going to be your favorite thing. We're going to go down here to rapids. It feels like I'm inside mom.
But it was awesome. And a huge part of that was anything fear-based with birth, I rejected, I did not listen to. And, people who are very well-meaning will, oh, well, my birth. And I would say, nope, I'm not listening to scary birth stories right now. And
yeah, I think that's important for women to hear, that like they can have that boundary to where it's like, hey, this is what I'm going through for the next 9 months, and I'm not going to participate in that. I think that can extrapolate into everything in life, right? Like if you're trying to change your finances, if you're trying to get more successful in business or do certain things, like it's okay to set boundaries and tell people, I'm not participating in that anymore. And they can either be a part of it or not, And all right, so all that happens. How do you, in your mind, how do you envision the second child? What do you envision? Not as big of a team, a smaller team, more intimate?
Yeah.
Because we know the body learns. Now that you've done it, it's going to be different and potentially a lot easier the second time.
And it's so funny because, we get these mental images in our mind. And even with my pregnancy, those last couple weeks, which at our core, we are mammals. What do mammals do when they give birth? They retreat. And whenever I'd meditate or I'd lay in bed at night, I would have this mental image of a lioness. And like the last couple weeks, she was pacing. She was pacing back and forth. She was getting ready. And then that last week, my mental image was she was retreating. She was retreating. She was going into her den, which really lined up with me. I didn't want to talk to people. I didn't really want to go out and do things. I wanted to be home. And then that final mental image was her settling. She was settling in. She was resting. And, I hope that for my next birth, I have just as strong mental images. But really for my next one, yeah, I definitely picture a smaller team. For some reason, I picture it at nighttime. Which my daughter was born right before midnight, but I labored all day. So I kind of picture just more nighttime, a little bit more intimate, a little bit more quiet.
In Florida at my house.
Yeah.
Sloan coaching you through it.
You're on one side, Bear's on the other. Bear's on my head, you're at my feet.
We got it all figured out.
Yeah, so... And, these things could change. I might have the baby in the middle of the day surrounded by a bunch of people. But, yeah, just how I'm feeling right now, I feel like I won't need as much support. And it will kind of be, I can do this. I can do this on my own. I don't need counter pressure. I don't need however many people there. And like I said, I do not regret it because my birth was everything that I had pictured. It was... between the salt lamps and the affirmations up and the people supporting me and being in the water. But yeah, I think for the next birth, it'll be totally different. And I'm really manifesting and really doing the work needed to just have a better pregnancy because, sometimes a lot of things with pregnancy is, nutrients and all this stuff. But honestly,
I think a huge part's stress too. And I think we don't really equate that enough to what's going on. And, when you guys got pregnant with Emmy, it wasn't the calmest time of your life. Like it isn't right now where things are kind of pretty much flowing the way that you would intend everything to flow. So I think your level of stress is going to be different. I also, and again, I'm talking like this because I know you. Yeah. And I want you to talk more about this actually, because I think there's a lot of women out there that are type A. And I think that we live in an era now where like women run and women owned and women driven businesses and you got to do all these things is a huge deal. Mm-hmm. And with no child, it's very easy to then give everything to that in the career. And now I've watched you taken a massive step back from the office and the day-to-day parts of the office. Start thinking, how can I make money from home? How can I still be impactful? How can I do this? But to watch your shift from like, I'm going to be this badass businesswoman, and not that you can't still be both, to, yes, I want that, but my priority is being a fucking mom. And sinking into that and not really giving a shit what society thinks. I think that's super impressive and super important, especially now if you're going to have eventually 2 running around and maybe 3 or however many you guys decide to have. That's huge. But I think I'd like to hear how you got to that and how you worked through that, because that couldn't have been easy at that time of like, because that was your identity. Like this alpha woman that does these things, and like giving control over to an associate and to Barry and to, that type of stuff. I think that'd be valuable for people.
And honestly, it is something I am still struggling with, because it's really hard. I'm currently 29 years old. I had my daughter at 27. And for those 27 years, I was hustling. I was working my ass off through school. I was working my ass off to build my business. Making sure that our business could grow and could sustain someone else that I had to hire to replace me, and then for me to go back to work and for us to keep that third person so that our office could grow. And, it's still really difficult, but honestly, you just have to think, okay, what do I want? Not who am I? Because who I am changes. Yeah. I was a student. That doesn't mean I'm in school forever. Oh, I'm a business owner. Okay, that doesn't mean that's the only thing I'm allowed to do. Right. So just kind of evaluating my own priorities and just giving myself the freedom to experiment of, okay, well, what does it look like if I go back to work on these days? Well, what does it look like if I go back to work on these days? And what does it look like if I increase my hours? What does it look like if I decrease these hours? Because, newsflash, you can literally do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want.
What are the podcasts, right?
Seriously.
Do whatever the fuck you want. You can't.
If I change my hours, no one's going to die. No one's going to lose a limb. No one's going to lose a house. No one's going to be destitute, including myself, including the people that I serve. And just, I'm grateful that I built my business on a really strong foundation of serving people and building relationships, because now when I do change things, my patients go, oh my gosh, that makes total sense. You want to be at home with your daughter more. And It's so easy. And I am very much guilty of getting stuck in this spiral of, oh my gosh, well, I'm not going to be there enough. And, Kathy always comes in at 8. What's she going to do if I'm not there early? And, oh my gosh, well, I'm not going to get to see Rebecca at her 6 o'clock appointment that she likes, and blah, 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 blah. But every time I have changed my hours, people have figured it out, and they will keep figuring it out. And what is best for me is what's best for my practice, is what's best for my family, is what's best for my friends, it's what's best for everyone. Because if I'm not doing what's best for me, then all those categories are going to suffer. And I think being I hate this title, but being a working mom, it is not a seesaw. People think of this seesaw of, okay, we have work over here, we have life over here, and work's going down, okay, we need a little bit more in life, and we're trying to get this nice, perfect balance. That is not it. You are a plate spinner, and you have all these spinning plates, and you have this one, and that one's relationships and your friends, and you have this one, and that one's work, and then this one's your husband, and then this one's your kids, and then this one is your own self-care. And you're trying to keep all those plates up. And sometimes we're going to have to let that friendship one wobble so that we can give the family one a spin. And then, okay, family's stable, let's go ahead and give self-care a little spin. Oh, and let's go ahead and give work a little bit of a spin. You are never, ever, ever going to have all plates spinning perfectly at the same time. And you know what? That kind of sucks, but it also is kind of nice, because let's go ahead and let go of these expectations that we put on ourselves, because the only person putting all those things on yourself is you. You are the one saying, well, I have to work this many hours. Oh, well, I have to do this. Well, I have to cook this many meals at home for your kids. Okay, you really don't. You can order food from DoorDash and still be a good mom. You can have a grocery delivery service and still be a good mom. You just have to figure out what your priorities are. And maybe there's 3 priorities in each one. So maybe in practice it's, okay, I want to train my staff to do this, make this much money to this many people. And then at home, I want to make sure my kids see me X amount of hours, that I cook at home at least so many times a week, and that we have uninterrupted family time at least once a day. And setting those priorities and making sure that they're in alignment with what you want, not who you think you are, is really the most important thing. And again, it's hard, but you can change it whenever you want.
You can change them. I think it's important because this, again, goes back to boundaries and why they're so important. And again, I think you learn this as an entrepreneur because when you the reality of becoming an entrepreneur, especially in a service industry, is you get out or you want to go out and you're like, okay, I have $0 and I have overhead and I need patients and I need to take care of them and then I need more patients and then I need to buy food and then I need to do this. And so you kind of start selling little parts of you to accommodate for that because you're like, man, this patient's been coming in for 6 months and they really love it, but they can't come in unless it's Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Well, Tuesday night at 7 p.m. doesn't serve me anymore because I need to be with Sloan or I need to whatever. And you get caught up in the like, well, I have to juggle this and I have to accommodate them and their needs for all of these things instead of taking care of yourself first, which is, again, one of those boundaries and one of the things that I try and instill in Sloan. It's like, listen, your needs have to come first because if you can't serve out of that, right? If your cup's empty, you can't serve. And I mean, I think it's fascinating because when you when you break it down into its smallest components or parts, you can then look at everything and go, okay, 30 minutes of family time a day. Is that our highest priority on the list of these things? Yes. Okay. So Sunday night we can sit down and we can make our schedule because you're in control of your schedule and your schedule's allowed to change. Like you said, I mean, I'm just getting to the point now after about a year of working with my schedule to where I feel like I'm kind of getting dialed in. It's taken me a year. I don't like this. I do like that. This is when I'm doing it. And the more dialed in my schedule gets, the more free I get, but the more work I'm doing, which is fascinating to think about, right? Is the schedule actually allows you to produce more. And I think it's fascinating. So, I mean, I get it and it makes sense. And I also love that you and Barry do set time aside for the relationship because having a business, having a kid and having them together, it is so easy to cross over, just forget about the fact that like you guys need intimate time. You guys need to be and go to dinner or just talk or shut off or watch a movie together. Like it's very important because as an entrepreneur, you can just work and work and work. It doesn't end. That's what I've learned with my schedule recently is, Tuesdays, Thursdays in the office, Mondays, Fridays are doing this, Wednesdays are doing this. And at a certain time, like, so for me now on Mondays and Wednesdays are days that I have Sloan. So on Mondays and Wednesdays, when I pick her up at 3:00, that's it. There's no more work that gets done. I'm allowed to do work at the end of the night once she goes to bed if I choose to. Most of the time I'm tired though, so I don't. But I have blocked that off to where it's like it's okay to catch up on a few things if I need to send some emails. But from 3 to 8:15, there's no more work that gets done. And so now she's better behaved than she's ever been. She has all of Dad's attention. We're doing all of these things together. I'm not on my phone, but it wasn't until I got super clear with that boundary. I don't care who calls the office. I don't care if Hulk Hogan calls the office. I don't care if Donald Trump calls the office. You're not getting to see me. That's just what it is. This time is for my daughter, and cutting that line is just that short example. Literally changed everything in mine and my daughter's relationship with each other. Just that of holding the boundary. Now she gets to see Dad hold the boundary, which is tricky sometimes because I'll stop working and they still keep coming. The messages still keep coming. This still keeps coming. And I'm like, I'm not doing it, So it's interesting.
Because it's also hard as an entrepreneur when you're like, oh, like those calls equal money for me.
That is the hard part, right? Where it's like, fuck, that means money. That means she gets a better life. That means all these things. But, I think when you hold the boundaries and people understand, like I've told people before, like when I've gotten back to them the next day, my patients, again, as a chiropractor, you become more intimate with your patients than the medical doctor, the general medical doctor, because they're in a different model and they're running through people as quick as possible because they literally have to in order to make enough money to keep their doors open. It just is what it is. I don't think they're bad people. They're just stuck in a bad model, right? Our model, I intimately get to know people. I mean, I've had patients of mine that I've taken care of their children. I've watched them grow up. I mean, the kids are 4, 5, 6, and I was the first place they went when they left their home after having the birth was to the office. And I've watched these kids grow up. So you develop these intimate relationships with people, and they know about your life more than you would know about your medical doctor. 0 of them are like, you shouldn't spend time with your daughter. Like it's the most like illogical, but you think that though for a little bit, you're like, fuck, And there's a couple times where I've had to take her to the office, as I was learning this transition period, or like today's a good example. Today's Good Friday, and I didn't know she didn't have school. I mean, I knew she didn't have school, but I didn't remember that she didn't have school.
Yeah,
so
you didn't think about it. You're like, oh, it's not today.
we got up, and Dad had patients all morning, and we went to school, and we were the only people in the parking lot. She's like, all night last night, she's like, Dad, I don't have school tomorrow. I'm like, baby girl, because Taylor's visiting, so Taylor's here.
Nice try.
Yeah, and I'm like, baby, she's like, it's Friday, I don't have school. I'm like, honey, it's Thursday, you do have school tomorrow. And she's like, I'm telling you, everybody at school said we don't have school tomorrow. I'm like, honey, I don't know why they're saying that, but you have school. She's like, it's because of the holiday. And I'm like, baby, the holiday is Sunday. Like, you have school tomorrow. Like, and I'm just like, we got to go get stuff for your lunch. We went to the grocery store. I made her lunch, everything. We're driving to school. I make the turn and I pull in and I go, oh my God, where is everybody? I'm like, do you have school today? And I pull up like her school calendar and I look at my calendar. I'm like, oh my God, you don't have school. She's like, I told you we don't have school today.
Oh my gosh.
No, she's like, all right. So she came to the office with me today, but I mean, those are just, again, as the boundaries happen, as I start to get better with my schedule, mistakes like that won't happen. But that's what happens when you do juggle 5 or 6 different plates, and there's times in my house where it's like, I just can't keep up with the house being clean. Like, even when Taylor's here, she's like, I have no idea how you fucking do this all the time. Like, she goes, I don't know how you do everything you do, keep it together, and manage to be this present with her. She's like, it's crazy. And I don't know, I just spin the plates as fast as I fucking can, and then spin the other one as fast as you can. But it's just a season of life. And anyways, the schedule has helped me immensely be able to do that. And I didn't realize I needed that schedule until I actually hired that personal trainer, because I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. My health is a priority. I haven't prioritized it in years. This is not okay. I need to do this. And so I hired him. And for the first month, I was killing it. Like, killing it in terms of like doing way more and way better than I ever had. But all these things that I needed to do started backing up. Because now I'm walking 10,000 steps a day. I'm working out for an hour and 15 minutes. I'm cooking all of these meals and eating all of this food. And I'm like, fuck. And all this shit's backing up. And it got to the point where I chose not to do the gym anymore, because the weight of the business, which was able to fund me being able to have the time to do that, it was so imbalanced. And so I ended up trailing off at the end, not doing any of the things he wanted me to do. But I told him, I was like, listen, I'm going to probably give you the best and worst review you've ever gotten. I didn't get the results I wanted because I didn't do the work that I needed to do. But what you did is you shined a glaringly obvious spotlight on all of the areas of my life that I was neglecting, not paying attention to, and not having systems in place for. So I found all the places I don't have systems for in my office. I found all the places at home I don't have systems and structure for. And then I hired an assistant, and things are starting to get there, because if I didn't hire him for 3 more years, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I would have kept doing the same thing because it was working, right? And now I realized it actually wasn't working when I realized I wanted to take care of myself.
Right.
So I think it's huge.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm also, like, sort of going through. Is I mean, literally just this week, I'm like, all right, I need to work out again, because I ran a marathon last year, and then I haven't worked out since. But also,
ran a marathon.
I know. Hey, I did. But our office was in a state of crazy growth. We grew 25% in this first quarter compared to last year. I mean, we've been crushing it work-wise, home life. We've had such a good routine, and it was kind of like, okay, if there's something I'm going to give up right now, it is exercise, and I'm okay with that. And now it's summertime, or it's springtime, we're exiting that season of winter where we kind of have that tendency to hibernate. I'm like, okay, I feel ready to work out. I feel like this is something that I can reasonably put back into my schedule and feel comfortable with that. And then if it's too much, I'll know I'm doing too much. Okay, I'm not going to work out every single day. I'll work out 3 to 4 times a week like a normal person. But yeah, it's tough, because I definitely recognize that I have a tendency to go like all in crazy and then get burnt out, and then I do nothing. Hence, yeah, I ran a marathon and then was like, done exercising. Yeah. Which is not good.
I think it's not good, but I think that's our personalities. I mean, I think and we get better at that, which is part of the whole balancing. But then it makes us really fucking good at what we do too. when push comes to shove, I want you in the corner when shit has to get done.
Yeah.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So now we're going to transition back into Emmy and the children because I think it's super important. So Barry said you didn't co-sleep very much. You said you did co-sleep, and so you wanted to clarify that on the podcast.
Yeah, I don't know why he said that. We co-slept until...
Because he was probably fucking delirious. The poor man's running the business and trying to make sure you guys are okay. He was probably delirious.
Yeah. So we co-slept until about 8 months. And Emmy was really not a great co-sleeper, especially when she started to just get bigger and crawl around, and she's very, very squirmy. But yeah, like we co-slept with her for, I feel like 8 months is a long time. It felt like a long time when we weren't really sleeping. And, she sits up and she's like, hi! And we're going, okay, baby, it's okay. Close your eyes. Where mommy and daddy are sleeping, and you just feel his little hand smack you.
Wouldn't trade it for the world, though.
Absolutely
Only
not.
in that moment, you're like, fuck, I just need 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're like, close your eyes. Close your eyes. But yeah, no, we co-slept for, I feel like, a while, and then it took us time to transition. We'd start out, rock her to sleep, put her in her crib, she'd wake up and cry, we'd rock her, and then if she didn't go back to sleep, we'd put her in bed with us. So it was definitely, we had a very difficult sleep journey with her, which I think some of it was just kind of her personality, and she just needed that connection with us. And then some of it, I think we could have been better about just wake windows and being more mindful of bedtime and routine and all of that. But again, that's something that it's hard when you're a first-time parent and you're like, I don't know, like baby will sleep when they're tired. And again, we're both working parents. It's
Right.
so difficult when you have both been gone all day, and then you're trying to get your baby to bed, and your baby wants connection with you, and you want to connect with them, but you're also really tired.
Yeah.
But yeah, and now she sleeps really well, really, really well. We still rock her to sleep for the most part, but again, we're kind of getting better and transitioning at her, putting herself to sleep on her own. And now when she wakes up in the middle of the night, she can put herself back to sleep, which I'm really, really proud of. And I'm also really proud that we didn't ever do any sleep training. I am very anti-sleep training of just your nervous system development. And, it's so funny when people are like, oh, if you always go in, your baby's going to expect you to always be there when they cry. And I'm like, that's exactly what I want her to think.
Exactly what you're supposed to do.
I want her to know that, when something's wrong, mommy will be there. And it's so important for us to build that connection, because that is literally building those neural pathways so that when she is bigger and she is ready, she has those pathways. She has the tools that she needs to be able to put herself to sleep. It's not just like, okay, well, mom's not coming, so I might as well not even bother and I'll just lay here. But she really has what she needs neurologically to be able to put herself to sleep.
Yeah, the cry it out method's no good.
Yeah,
Everybody, don't do the cry it out method. It's literally a little child telling you they need you and they need love and support. That's all they want, and connection.
And when
At the end of the day, well, yeah, because the system got overloaded. That's why they stopped crying. They literally cried their nervous system to exhaustion, and that's why they fell back to sleep. It wasn't because they were like, oh, I'm going to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So don't.
Especially who could leave their 5-week-old crying in their crib?
I don't know.
Not to shame anyone, but guys.
Yeah, a lot of people just raise children based off how they were raised. They don't know. That's part of why sharing these stories are good, because it's like, look, neurologic. You have this little thing. I tell people, like breastfeeding, like why breastfeeding is so important, and like putting the child to bed in the crib, and why I like co-sleeping so much is you have this thing that was just born, and its literal lifeline is you. So there's not a ton of animals on the planet that can't really survive right out of the womb. Most of them can. They can hunt and move and do things within reason, but humans can't. And there's a brain development reasons why they can't, because if the brain was big enough to do that, they wouldn't be able to come out of the birth canal and all those kinds of things.
I would have actually ripped in half and died.
You would have actually ripped in half and died. But when you have this little being that doesn't know anything, that just came into this planet, it's like, what the fuck, man? I just got born into a world of giants. and the only one that makes sure I'm still alive is that one. And I don't want you to take me away from her. Like that's my food supply. That's my comfort, right? And so when you're literally ripping the child away from the one thing that is comfortable to them that they've known for 9 months in their mother, that's brutal. Like, go sleep over there. You're going to be perfectly fine. A lot of nighttime breastfeeding in my mind is just comfort. They're not actually hungry, or they might be because they're growing like a fucking million miles an hour. But a lot of it's just comfort. That's what they know. It's a safe
still a
place.
biological need.
Yes, absolutely. And so by having them cry it out and conditioning them for all of that stuff, it's not good for the neurology. And they will develop better neurology, better coping mechanisms, better ability to handle life and stresses later in life if they're bonded to their mother and father on a regular basis.
But the other side of that issue is so many moms have to go back to work after 6 weeks, 8 weeks even, and you know what? I get it. I totally I know earlier I was like, guys, how could you? But seriously, I understand when you need to sleep and someone told you, oh, just sleep train your baby, they'll cry it out, it's fine. So yeah, the lack of just maternal support and just lack of just honoring the mother-baby bond, I think is really, really detrimental. And that's something that, it's just like, oh, well, I've got to go back to work because otherwise they'll eliminate my position and hire someone new, nothing that's not guaranteed. So this is
why we don't want to work for corporations. This is why you want to be self-employed, because then you get to dictate that. If you want to take a year off, you can. You guys could figure that out, right? Yeah. Like it could work. And yeah.
And that's a huge part of why I am a chiropractor and why I did want to be self-employed, because that was really, really important to me. And full honesty, sometimes owning your own business sucks. Like the last couple of weeks have been really, really hard for my business. And you know what though? It's nothing I can't figure out, and I know that it is still worth it. It is still worth it for me, for my family, and the hard parts are just the sacrifices you have to make to build your dream life, which is exactly what Barry and I are doing.
I think being in school was really cool for us too, because in chiropractic, first off, where we went to school, everybody's kind of like this little family. And so Mackenzie, when she had Caleb, it was like this tribe was raising Caleb. Like he came to class and she breastfed him in class. And when she took a test, Paige or somebody was just bouncing him on her big old boobies up and down the hall, or he was like crawling around clinic. Like it was just expected that mom has to do these things. Caleb's coming with me and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like this is the tribe. And I thought that was always really cool to see how everybody kind of in that culture just embraced that as like complete normalcy. Like no one was like, oh, don't breastfeed your child in class. Don't bring your kid to don't this or don't that. And it was always like,
you were like, can I hold him now?
Yeah. Like everybody's like, can I have Caleb for an hour? Like, oh, like this guy's going to be a little stud, Yeah. So I think that just builds it into us already, being chiropractors and seeing stuff like that on a regular basis. It's just like, this is normal. We raise children as a family and as a group, as a tribe in essence. And it's today I'm blessed, Taylor's here and the little tribe. She's like, I got Sloan, go do what you got to do for the day, and it's just like, I don't have a huge tribe, but my tribe's tight, the people I have, I know I can count on. And that's huge. And I don't know how many people have that in the social media world today, or everybody's all over the place now, and that puts more weight on you to begin with.
That's something I'm really proud of my office is when mom and baby come to get adjusted and baby's crying, my front desk is holding the baby so mom can get her adjustment. Whenever I am finished with the infant, I put them back in their carrier, get them all strapped in, because I'm like, you know what a postpartum mom doesn't want to do is like crouch down and put her kid in the infant car seat, especially with something like, just let me put her in there, rock them around, you go ahead and check out, I'll make sure baby's situated so you guys are good to go. It really, the saying is so cliche, but I love it. It takes a village. No one you cannot do it on your own. I would not be able to have the life I have without my husband, without my mom, without my friends. I'll call my friends and be like, hey, can you watch Emmy while I work this afternoon? My mom's busy doing something, whatever. And they are so happy. They won't let me pay them. They're happy to help me, and I'm happy to help them. This is what we need to be doing for each other. And the more that we can mother our mothers, the better that our moms are going to be, the better that our kids are going to be, because it's so important to have that community and that love.
I can hear in the background and I fucking love it.
Very.
All right, so I want to ask this question. If you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. But, a huge part of after you've had the baby, it's the intimacy with the husband, right? So there are biological needs, and the husband, he gets horny and he wants to have sex. And I mean, so for my experience, like, that was like one of the most beautiful times that I saw my ex. It was like, man, you just went through war. Like, I think you're sexier now than ever in my entire life, but her hormones weren't really there yet, and so I'm like, of course, I'm not like, I get it. But when you do take time off for a while, like, getting that back can become tricky. So did you intentionally do it, or was it naturally easy for you and Barry, or because I think that's a huge thing. Like, the men are like, oh my God, like, I want to support her, but like, man, I need the intimacy too.
Mm-hmm. So for us, we did not have sex for, I feel like, a normal amount of time after having Emmy, because I'm sore, we're both tired. Of course. But a lot of our intimacy just came from just being together, just making sure that both of us felt supported, especially early on when you're both tired, you're both frustrated, and both of us felt like we were doing more than the other. We both felt overworked and underappreciated. And honestly, the biggest thing that solved that was just talking about it. Just saying, hey, I feel like I'm doing so much, and I feel like I feel like you could be doing this. And then he's like, well, I'm doing this, and blah, 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 blah. So kind of just expressing that was really helpful.
That was one of the things that I, when our relationship ended, I was like, damn, during those times, I wish that, because I think we both felt like that too. Like, I'm doing more than the other person, and it's not reciprocated, and it's the first time you've done it. And so it's like, fuck, you don't even know how to communicate it at first. You're just like, what is happening, until it's like, damn it. And
as the mom,
the intimacy can even be just a movie together. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. And as a mom, I'm like, I just was pregnant for 9 months and it freaking sucked. I just had this, my labor was awesome, but it is hard. Mm-hmm. I'm breastfeeding, I'm carrying her, I'm still bleeding, I'm still fat, my boobs are huge and heavy. And, he's like, I hear you, but I'm doing the housework, I'm doing the laundry, I'm up with the baby most of the night, I'm, doing all these other things, and really just expressing that and saying, okay, you are right, you are doing more than I realized, and I'm sorry that I doubted that. And kind of, it was very mutual on both sides, which was also really nice, and just, okay. And then, just watching a movie together, just enjoying our daughter together, making sure that we were just communicating really well. And I think the biggest thing for Barry and I is we say thank you to each other a lot. And it's so funny because you'll see some people be like, oh, I don't thank my husband for unloading the dishwasher. That's part of his, he lives here too. That's part of his responsibility, which I don't disagree with. But you know what? It's also really nice when Barry's like, oh, babe, I saw that you cleaned the floors. Thank you. They look really nice. And he feels really good when I say, oh, thank you so much for unloading the dishwasher. That was awesome. I was going to wake up and do it, and it was already done. Like, it takes 2 seconds, and it means so much to your partner to just express that. It costs you $0. Just say thanks. Hey, you look cute today. Thanks for having a good butt. It's so easy. Just compliment each other, because if you are trying to, like, something that my pastor told us when we were in our, like, pre-marriage counseling and everything was, always try to outserve your spouse. And if both of you do that, you're really going to be happy. If you do something every day, like, ooh, Barry would really like this. Let me do this for him. And he does so much for me. And we very rarely have those kind of arguments anymore, because there really is no reason to, because we're always just doing little things for each other, and we're thanking each other for it. And it really just makes it so much easier. And especially with a child, with a business together, there is a lot of things that are on our plates. We are super busy, we have a lot going on, and it's just, oh, thank you for making sure this is done. Or I have gotten better at expressing, because my love language is quality time, of, hey, I just really want to spend time with you.
Yeah.
I really want to get Emmy to bed. Let's just watch a movie. I really want to just, watch TV with you or just sit beside you while we read. Like, I just want to be with you.
Yeah.
Like, not next to you, not doing housework with you, not parenting with you. I want to be with you.
I think it's huge because, I mean, even I'm in that, I try and do with that more with Sloan, with like appreciating, she puts her shoes away. I'm like, oh, thanks, you put your shoes away. You know, I don't have to remind you, like, we're getting there, you know? Yeah. And because I definitely was raised in the household of, you know, if the dishes need done, you just do the fucking dishes.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to tell you thank you. Like, you just did the dishes because you're supposed to do the dishes need done. Like, if the trash needs taken out, you know, it's like, I shouldn't have to tell you to take the trash out. Just take the trash out. It's full. You know, it's like one of those things. And so it's breaking those cycles, because that's been embedded in me forever. That's interesting, you know, because I try and do that with Sloan, and it's like that definitely can bleed into all the relationship aspects. And I think that style of communicating and being like, look, I need these needs met, and just being able to be seen and heard, you know, because I definitely felt like Barry does, and I know that Chrissy probably felt how you did, where I was like, I'm trying to hold the weight of the world up right now, and so that you don't have to do anything else, because I want to support you in this. In everything that was done on my end, oh my good God, can't take you anywhere. This is why we can't have nice things.
Mom.
But all of the things Barry was doing were because he loved you and because he wanted to show you that he loved you. And so I think it's just even acknowledging, like, I realize that you're doing all the housework and all the work and all these things because you want to support me in what I'm trying to go through. And it's him trying to show you love. And sometimes it just lands wrong. And it's like, fuck. You know, but that's that open communication where it's like, well, how do I show you love? And how do you see that I'm trying to show you love?
Yes.
Which is huge.
And everyone just wants to feel appreciated at the end of the day.
Of course.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's doing more. You just want the other person to see what you're doing. Yeah. That's really, I think, what it comes down to.
No, it really does. Especially if you're doing it for your partner. Like, I'm doing all this and I get no acknowledgement from it.
Right. Like, all right, why am I even bothering?
Yeah. And it, you know, it's interesting because, like, when you look back at like Christy and I and how we were raising Sloan and all these things, and it's like, man, all right, I see where we should have did different things, but you don't fucking know it until you went through it. Like, you just don't know.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's important. And I don't remember what I was going to say. I don't know, something about that.
Even with Emmy, like, you know, if I correct her or something, lately she's been wanting to stand on her little slide. Like, she wants to stand on the top. And it's kind of high up, so I say, okay, baby, put your butt down. Put your butt down. And she smiles at me, and then she puts her butt down, and I say, okay, thank you for listening to Mommy. Good job. You did a good job listening. Because I want her to know, hey,
yeah,
you did it. You listened. Good job. Yay.
For sure.
Thank you. Not just, yeah, kid, that's right. Don't make me ask you again. Because she's learning.
Reinforce the patterns you want. Like, there will come a time where you can say things like, hey, I don't like to ask you more than once because I know you heard and understood. And I'm at that age with Sloan. Like, if I ask her something, she doesn't do it. I'm like, baby girl, Daddy asked you to do this and you chose not to do it. Why? You know, why'd you choose not to do it? Well, I didn't want to or whatever. It's like, okay, but I don't like asking you to brush your teeth 4 times in the morning. Just brush your teeth, you know? And but when they get to a certain age and you learn how to communicate with them, you can. But at first, they're not going to have, if you don't do what you did and you don't show them that it's in their best interest and it's for loving them and you are rewarding that behavior and how that they're keeping themselves in this safe space, then they're not going to be able to be reciprocated or receive it later when you're like, hey, brush your goddamn teeth. You know, like, they're going to be like, oh, Mom's mad at me or Dad's mad at me. I'm not mad at you, you know? Yeah. So
just help you not have stinky breath. And it's really cute, too, because now that her vocabulary is really expanding, even just earlier today, she pointed at something, I don't know, she wanted her cup, and I handed it to her, and she went, think.
Yes. We're getting there.
And I'm like, oh, you're welcome, Emmy. Thanks for saying thanks.
Oh my God.
It's so funny though. You know, they always say, oh, kids are sponges. But damn, they really are. She does things that I don't even realize I do. When she was maybe, I don't know, maybe closer to a year, she would walk around with her hands behind her back and just stand and look around. And me and Barry are like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. Where'd she learn that? And then like the next day, Barry's like, you are doing the thing that everyone else is
Just standing looking out the window.
Yeah. And just little mannerisms, just I like to have everything nice and put away. Emmy also really likes to have everything put away. Now, sometimes she'll make a mess and go, uh-oh, just so she can put it away. But yeah, it really makes you be more cognizant of your actions and your words, and yeah, even how you treat your partner. I mean, how you treat your partner is how your child is going to be treated or treat their future spouse. So I want Emmy to know that, hey, daddy treats mommy really, really nicely and really well. Like, this is the kind of person you want to be with, because
of course,
daddy needs to set the bar really, really high.
Exactly. I say that all the time. You got, like, my job is to set the bar so fucking high that it's almost hard to find somebody, because I'd rather her be so fucking picky than date a bunch of shitheads. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the bar. This is the standard, and this is what you're going to raise up to if you want to be with me. And if you don't, guess what, motherfucker? I'll be all right.
I tell Emmy every day, baby girl, the only time we set the bar low is for limbo.
I'm going to send you so many memes about that now.
That's the real title of the podcast episode.
That's it. Mic drop it. Boom. God damn it. Oh.
I tell her every day.
Her day. Morning, noon, and night.
All day, every day. Emmy, when do we set the bar low? And she goes, limbo.
I love it. I love it. All right. We're getting near an hour here. So let's do. All right. So far, what's your favorite part about being a mom?
Oh, I love all of it. I think just seeing her little personality come out. She was conceived with sass, and I just love it so much. She is so smart, and recently I found a journal that I've been writing when I was pregnant, which I am not a journaler. There's literally one entry.
I'm actually surprised. I was just going to say.
Yeah, there's one entry of a day I was probably like, I'm bored and nauseous. Let's write in this fucking journal. And I had written, I really hope that my child is funny. I hope she has a good sense of humor. And Emmy is so funny. Like, for a little kid, of just joking and hiding and jumping out to scare us. And yeah, I think I love her humor. I just love seeing her little personality. And I loved her so much when she was born. And I swear every day I'd love her a little bit more than I even thought was possible. I'm like, damn, you are the best thing in the whole universe. The best thing in the whole universe. Like, look at my eyeballs. I'm tearing up just talking about how much I love my daughter. Just today I got her out of her crib and I put her in bed with Bear, except that I was getting ready to like go to work and everything, and they're just laying there snuggling, and then she gives us kisses, and then she pretends to sleep and goes night-night, and then lays down and pops up, and lays down and pops up. So just her personality. I love who she is, and I just can't wait to see who she becomes even more, because it's so great. And I don't take for granted how sacred it is that I have a part in that I am helping shape who she will be for the rest of her life.
Beautiful.
What's your favorite part about being a dad?
So I got asked this question. I was actually in Colorado, and I got asked this question. It took me an hour to figure out an answer for it, because I was like,
all night, Roger.
Goodness, we got at least another 2 hours. I was like, what? Because, like you said, there's so much. This when it's born, it's like your heart is just literally ripped out and stuck in front of your face, and you're just like, what the fuck? I mean, I think
my heart's not in my own body anymore.
It's in this thing, And I realized that it's the first time I've ever felt in my entire life that I can give unconditional love and receive unconditional love. Like, and I was like, fuck, that's what it is. Like, that for me is what it is. And I know that that's like super broad, but to feel that, it's like, whoa, that anything this child needs, I'm in. And people, of course, people say that, but to feel like your heart outside of your body is like, God damn, and it's tricky, I think, is as the father, I'm working on programming that subconscious mind. And so there's times where I have to be present for her in the physical and be there for her, but I know that I'm actually talking to her subconscious mind. So then I have to be a little bit more direct and firm, because I understand that the conscious mind is not what's going to dictate the future responses to this. And so there's times where I'm just like, fuck, this is so hard, because all you want to do is just like spoil the shit out of them, you know. But that's not going to raise a productive member of society. So like balancing that, I think, has been the trickiest part of like, woof, like right now she's got a lot of stuff. Like everybody sends her stuff, you know, like Gaga, and she's got a couple grandmas, you know, and everybody sends her stuff. And I'm like, look, we got too much clothes. We have a lot of clothes we don't wear. You got like 8 t-shirts you've never even put on. Like last night, we need to go through some stuff, you know. But a lot of parents, and the same with toys. We're going to do the same thing with toys here soon. And I need to get rid of some things that I don't need anymore. And so I let her see me get rid of things first. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get rid of things that I don't need and that I don't use, because they're not serving us anymore. They're taking up space. Let's get rid of it and let's make room for the new, right? Because that's how the universe works. And I didn't want to just go into the room and get rid of her clothes and get rid of her things, because one, my daughter's literally a genius and she remembers things from years ago. So she'll remember that toy's not there anymore, that we got rid of the toy, we got rid of the t-shirt. She'll ask me where it is. And then what am I going to be like? Oh, I got rid of it because you weren't playing with it. Like, how violating is that though to the child, right? Like, you're the person that the child's supposed to be able to trust, and you're throwing away their intimate toys. Like, that's not fucking okay. Yeah, you know, and nobody... Yeah, and nobody thinks about that, but that's how we were all raised. You know, we're just going to get rid of the toys when you're at school because it's easier. So when I'm with her, like last night.
I'm sure it is.
Oh, it's way fucking easier. Oh my God, I get it and understand it more than anything, you know, but it showed me now to be able to have more patience, because last night we sat down and I'm like, okay, baby girl, we're going to go through just these 3 shelves and we're going to go through these clothes. And so then I was like, I want to keep that. 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 And I'm like, okay, baby girl, but we need to start getting rid of some things. You see how there's a stack of t-shirts this big and a stack of tank tops this big. You have so much clothes, I wouldn't have to do laundry for 2 weeks. You know, like let's start to get rid of some. She's like, okay. So she got rid of like 2 or 3. I'm like, cool. And then there was like another pile, and I'm like, all right, here's 2. And they were both old, so I knew that like I could do this with them. I'm like, we can keep 1, you know? And so then she'd get rid of 1. Then I'd put another one and be like, we can keep 1. She'd get rid of 1. And then she started getting to the point where she's like, just thumbs it, get rid of it, get rid of it. But it was cool to see her like start to develop that non-attachment to the things, because I'm like, baby girl, we can get more, you know. And then she like went through and was changing all of her underwear, making sure they fit, throwing away the ones that didn't. Like, she was getting the thing, and I'm like, all right, cool, she's starting to learn. Like, we don't just keep things to keep them. When we don't use them anymore, then it was cool, because this morning she's been doing this thing where she takes like a bowl of water and she draws on with her markers on the paper towel, and then puts it in the water, and it bleeds into the water and it makes the water colorful, and then she like feeds it to her baby dolls or whatever, and gets the whole floor soaking wet with water, and it's awesome, and whatever. And but the markers are starting to run out of ink because she's coloring entire sheets of paper towels with it. And this morning she came up to me and was like, Dad, you know, whatever's out of ink, you know, and I need new markers or something like that. And I knew we had other markers in another drawer. And I was like, well, first of all, did you throw away the markers that don't work anymore? She's like, yep. I'm like, fuck yeah, there we go. Then bottom drawer on the left, there's more markers. You can go ahead and grab those. But that's what I want. I don't want her to be like, oh, the markers are up, but I have an emotional attachment to the markers. It's a fucking thing, you know. And I think there's a lot of kids like that now, because we bombard them with stuff, and then we wonder why we create a culture that only wants more stuff.
Yeah.
That doesn't value intimacy and time and relationships and all of those kinds of things, and has a real issue with delayed gratification. Right. You know, and that's, if we can delay gratification, we can. And it's very hard to teach your child delayed gratification, because you almost want to give it to them more than they want to get it.
Yeah. Oh.
You know, you're like,
like, trust me, as much as you want it, I want you to have it even more. But
exactly.
I like, it's my job as your parent to teach you, hey, like, sometimes you just gotta fucking chill for a minute. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's good, and teach them how to do those things. You know, it's the same thing as like on the playground. I was with Sloan the other day on the playground. I don't know if I talked about this yet, but her and her girlfriend went down a slide, and so they went down the slide, and she told the kid thank you, and he shushed her or something like that. So she like came running up to me. Yeah, women. So she came running up to me and was like, I went down the slide and I was super nice to him, and then he shushed me. And I was like, okay. And, like she's like, well, it hurt my feelings. And I'm like, okay, let's think about it for a second. Like, are you okay? And are you safe? She's like, yeah. I'm like, all right. Now, he's allowed to shush you. We live in a world where he is absolutely allowed to shush you. The only thing you can be concerned about and need to worry about, and if this is how I talk to my 6-year-old, the only thing you can be concerned about and need to worry about is your response to it, and did you do the right thing? And I was like, and what'd you do? She's like, I told him thank you. I said, so you did the right thing. Now what you get to do is continue to do the right thing, even if he shushes you again. And I understand that it hurt your feelings, but guess what? People try and hurt dad's feelings every day. I post a video on the internet because she knows I do this, right? I post a video on the internet. Some asshole that has no life is going to say something mean. You know what? Yeah. Rushes right off of me because I don't care, right? He's allowed to say what he wants, and it should not offend you. And I teach her these things and talk to her just like this. So she's like getting amped up. She's like, all right, cool. Like, fuck them, basically, and I'm like, you go play, you live your life. As long as you're doing the right things, as long as you're being polite, and as long as you're being nice, you have nothing to worry about, and don't concern yourself with what these people say. So she goes about her day. They play for like another hour, and then we're like getting ready to leave, and he must have shushed her again, and like she came up and was like, he shushed me again.
What a weirdo.
And yeah, what a weirdo.
Like he literally just said, shh.
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Because she said thank you or something like that for letting her get on the slide because, like, I guess he let her in front of him. I don't know. Whatever. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, what did you do about it? Like, is there anything that needs done about it? She's like, no. And I was like, well, you two can figure it out. Like, you're welcome to share with him that it hurt your feelings, that he shushed you, but you cannot expect him to change who he is or what he's doing because it hurt your feelings. Like, okay, and then just went about her day. But if we don't teach kids that at 6, she's 6. If we don't teach kids that at 6, 7, or 8 years old, well, then you have the fucking problems we have in society today where if I don't call you, you offended me. Yeah, I'm the victim. It's your fault that I'm upset. No, motherfucker, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
And it's, again, communication and all those things are very important, but my God. What am I going to do? Get offended every time somebody says something ignorant on a comment on one of my posts? Are you fucking kidding me? Please, the more ignorant comments you say, the more my shit goes viral. That's what they don't understand. It's like you're literally helping me get my message out there even more by being an asshole.
It's also just funny because, obviously a lot of people do care, but like, okay, I don't care. You have something to say on my Instagram? I do not care about you. I will block you and delete it.
Exactly.
Good job wasting your own time. You played yourself.
Boom, roasted. Preston and I, we laugh all the time about it because I'm like, dude, who has time to do that? First of all, like they clearly don't own their own business and are probably pooping at work on someone else's time, not doing their job. Like, it's literally the only explanation.
And then complaining that they didn't get the promotion and, their boss just hates them and it's unfair.
Of course. It's fascinating. The dynamics of the world are fascinating.
Freaking losers.
Mic drop, freaking losers. But at the same time, like, I've had people comment on my post, and there's some people that are just like blatant assholes, and I'm like, I'm not going to engage in that. But there are some people that have commented, and I'm like, how can I kind of just show them love right now? Because the way that this is worded is very much like they're really just looking for validation and to be loved. Like, can I comment back in a nice way to be like, man, that was rough, and there are exceptions to the rule. And
because ultimately, hurt people. Like that kid that shushed her, like he might never be allowed to speak at home. He might be in a household where children should be seen and not heard. And I'm really proud of Sloan for just being like, all right, thank you. See ya, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, and again, that's what we need to teach children is that even in the midst of that, you can still be kind. You can still be good. You can still show this person love. Because guess what? If you do that enough times, it's going to be like, I actually am not getting the response I want out of her. So one, they're going to stop doing it, just like the bully thing, which is actually why, people condemn bullying. I'm like, I don't know. I was bullied. I was definitely bullied. And being bullied allowed me to face fears, go buy a weight set, go start working out, start training, because I'm like, the fuck, I'm ever going to feel this way again. And it turned me into who I am today because I was afraid someone was going to beat me up in like 6th grade. And like, I wish I could find the kid that I thought was going to beat me up in 6th grade, because we ended up becoming friends later. Like, you know, we were in like 16, 17, 18 and in college.
It's such a boy thing.
Oh my God, it is. But he was, I mean, I think when I graduated high school, I was like 185, 190 pounds. When I was in college, I got up to like 215, 220 pounds. And he was like probably 5'6", 145 pounds. And I'd be like, we'd be in college and I'd be like, this motherfucker's why I started working out, because I was afraid he was going to beat me up.
That's my size. That's me versus you. That's me trying to beat you.
It's so awesome. It's so awesome. It's so illogical, but it was just like, this is fucking great. Like,
Man.
so
They talk about people peaking in high school. That kid peaked in what? How many?
3rd grade he
Third
peaked.
grade? Like, what is that?
I'm a fucking monster.
Especially how little you're like, hey Rocco.
Oh my
I'm gonna
God.
beat
And
you up. You're like, ah.
I don't know what he's doing now, but he was one of the funny, like, as we got older, because it's such a guy thing, he was one of the funniest fucking kids I've ever spent time with. I mean, you would laugh and laugh and laugh at that kid. He was
See, and
so
girls
funny.
would be like, that girl looked at me wrong in 3rd grade, so now we're not friends.
That's why I'm not a girl. Yeah, funny. Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting thing, and I'm glad that a lot of my, now that we're talking about that, I'm glad a lot of my tribe is women.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have my tribe of men, but moms specifically, because when Sloan starts to go through those things, it's going to be very different for me on how to handle it, because as a guy, it's like, all right, well, punch each other in the fucking face and then give each other a hug and then you're better.
Yeah.
Or just move through it, you know. And women, it's not like that, but it's definitely like that as kids. Like, you play the sport. If you don't, I mean, I remember we had kids in football that couldn't fucking stand each other, and this is probably going to mean nothing to you, but you could hit each other on kickoff very hard back then. And so one was on the kickoff, one was on the kick return team, and they were 60 yards apart, and they just took off on a dead sprint towards each other in the middle of practice and just fucking knocked each other out right in the middle of practice. Coach let it happen, but that was it. They got it over with, right? They fucking got it out of their system, and it was like, all right, cool, you're good, you know. And then they didn't ever become like absolute best friends, but they respected each other from then on out and were great teammates. But they got it out of their system in 30 fucking seconds. Yeah. You know, so it's interesting how I'm gonna get to navigate those waters with Sloan.
Yeah, because the dynamics between masculine and feminine, like we started out talking about, are just, they're really, really different, and that is okay. And the masculine does not have to come from the man, the feminine does not have to come from the woman, but we do have to figure out how to navigate those energies within ourselves, within our relationships, and within our children.
Yeah, that's super important. Fucking mic drop.
Right there.
Next time we'll talk about how you got to do that, because we're already at like an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh, I know. Brain Rocco Power Hour.
I like it. All right. So tell everybody how to find you, follow you on the Insta webs and all those kinds of things, especially moms that got parenting questions. I would definitely reach out to Bree.
Oh, stop
I
it.
think I just burped in your ear.
I'd reach out to
Reach out to Bleh.
Wow, it was so nice for a second there.
So nice. But I think you're a very good mom. When I came up there, you know, and I brought Sloan, I told you, like, you and your group of girls, I was like, had I experienced this earlier on, I think I would have wanted to have more children if I saw this, you know, and I didn't really know that existed until I was around you guys. And I was like, damn, this is special.
I know. Having Emmy makes me want so many kids. Like, it's just so fun. I don't want it to end. I don't want it to be, oh, this is my last baby. But obviously, like, that time will come and we'll see. You're
going to be 80 years old. Like, just one more, Barry. Squeeze, squirt it out.
But especially since I am in the early years of motherhood, yeah, it's like, I don't even want to think yet about my last baby, because and that's something I've worked on too, just being more present. And I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned as a mom, because as a business owner, you're always thinking of the next year, the next goal, the next quarter, the next day, the next week, the next thing. But as a parent, if you just are thinking, oh, well, next year she'll be doing this, oh, in 5 years we'll be doing this, then you're going to completely lose out on this moment that you have with your child, and you will never get that moment back. Anyone who has kids, you know, you look at pictures of them from last week and you miss the kid that they were because they just grow so fast.
They grow so fast. And that's actually a good point, because I was like that. I was always super future oriented, always, even with Sloan. And again, these schedules and the things coming back to that, I feel now that more, and I'm very good at being present with her, especially after Christy and I split. Now more than ever, I'm even better at being present with her, because it's so valuable, and being able to turn off the work, which I couldn't do before until, recently, the last like 6 months, but being able to turn off the work and being like, boom, doesn't matter. World could be falling apart. It's Sloan. That's it. Because I don't get this back. I can handle the problem tomorrow. And guess what? If the person doesn't come in, it's okay. Someone else will come, and it's really sinking into that matters a lot. So that's definitely huge.
Yeah. But anyway, on Instagram, you can find me at Dr. Breanna Powderly, Breanna. Powderly is powder, like baby powder, Ly. Find me. I have a public profile, so you can follow me or you can just creep on me, whatever you want to do. Send me messages. Let's connect. I just love being a mom. I love helping other moms. Again, I believe that that's a really big part of my calling is, not just as a chiropractor, but just as a human, is we need to all be in this together, because motherhood is sacred, motherhood is awesome, and motherhood can be really challenging. And I'm so grateful for the moms that are in my life that I have learned from and been mothered by and been nurtured by and been supported by, because that has helped make me a really, really good mother, and that has helped me, mother my own child and be able to just extend that love to other moms that need it, which I think is like the meaning of life, is just loving and serving one another.
And I think that when a woman has a tribe of women that they can reach out to and support during motherhood, it takes pressure off the relationship from the husband, right? Because the husband really is trying to juggle all of these things, and then he's also trying to be your support system of your female tribe, and it just doesn't work. Like, that's when it breaks down. I know from personal experience. Yeah. That's when things start to break down. And so having that tribe is massively important, which is why men need to surround themselves with men also, which they don't do anymore, which is why I go to Cigar Lounge all the fucking time. This is why I purposely make friends with guys, because you need to be around men. Because
what's up, dudes?
What's up, dudes?
Romances. It's bro time.
Want to suck on this stick together?
And sip our little drinkies.
Drinky boo.
A little drink in my little stick.
And there's times that people just need to vent and get it out, and you want to do it with your boys because you don't actually fucking mean a lot of the stuff you say, right? Or whatever it is. And it's just like, look, this is a safe place to be vulnerable, to get out your frustrations, to realize that it's probably some type of fucking limiting belief or self-sabotage bullshit that you have going on, and to have a tribe of people that you can bounce it off of. And then after you've vented, they can be like, okay, well, let's get down to what really is happening, because Barry's actually really fucking awesome, and he's really doing a million fucking things for you. And imagine what it would be like if you didn't have a Barry, and all those kinds of things. And then you're like, fuck, I really do appreciate him, and it was my bullshit stories that I make up in my head that was making me feel that way, And again, selecting the right women for that, though, is a very important thing. Mm-hmm. They're all in the same vibration, headed in the same direction. So it's awesome. All right, everybody, reach out to Bree. This was a good episode. We'll do another one. I think we'll do one with the best episode. This was the best episode until, of course, we get you and Barry on. And then because he's on, it'll be the best episode.
Well, the second best episode. This is how I always end phone calls to Rocco. LOL, lots of love.
Aroo!
Do some.
Do some.